Fontenot and head coach Raheem, and it has to be because of this statement that Michael Penix made in a press conference. Listen.
Get it going. I know you lean on your faith, but like, who do you lean on to like help you? Like, we haven't played quarterbacks. Would you lean on like a former quarterback or your coaches to kind of just help you kind of assess things and good and bad? You saying like as far as on the field? Yeah, both. Stuff? To help you mentally and physically. No. Like mentally, I like my fiance. She's always there for me. So I know whenever I get home, it doesn't matter how I played. She's always gonna be there for me. She's gonna have a smile on her face and give me a hug and make me feel good no matter what. But as far as like physically the on the field stuff, it's not nobody that I'll talk to like as far as another quarterback or anything like that. I do have people reach out to me. I do have quarterback coaches though back at home that reach out to me as well. Tell me, hey, like you need to clean this up, clean that up, and everything will be good. So those guys help me as far as that too. So I can shout out them.
Now, basically, that was damning. Basically, I believe it was Josephine Anderson who asked him that, but Michael said that, and consider the question. Let's reconsider the question.
I know you lean on your faith, but like, who do you lean on to like help you? Like, we haven't played quarterbacks. Would you lean on like a former quarterback or your coaches to kind of just help you kind of assess things and good and bad? You saying like as far as on the field? Yeah, both. Stuff? To help you mentally and physically.
He said on the field. And she said, yeah, to help you mentally and physically. You see, and this is really a slam to Zach Robinson, who I wanted to fire a long time ago. He was the offensive coordinator. There were times when Michael would sit on the bench without any coach to talk with him, and he's the rookie now, second year, and go through with him what he saw, but also most important, what the answer should be if something isn't working, and just to keep him mentally pepped up and optimistic about the next play. No, they literally left him alone, often for long stretches. It was so bad that apparently Michael had to verbalize it. He thought about what he was saying before he said it. That let's look at it again. That long pause. That all right, right here. Look at this. And the thing about Michael is that he's still very young, almost childlike in a way, and doesn't want to hurt anybody's feelings. First job out of college, still learning as he goes. All that comes out right here.
Get it going. I know you lean on your faith, but like, who do you lean on to like help you? Like, we haven't played quarterbacks. Would you lean on like a former quarterback or your coaches to kind of just help you kind of assess things and good and bad? You saying like as far as on the field? Yeah, both. Stuff? To help you mentally and physically. No. Like mentally, like my fiance, she's always there for me. So I know whenever I get home, it doesn't matter how I played. She's always gonna be there for me. She's gonna have a smile on her face and give me a hug and make me feel good no matter what. But as far as like physically the on the field stuff, it's not nobody that I'll talk to like as far as another quarterback or anything like that. I do have people reach out to me. I do have quarterback coaches though back at home that reach out to me as well. Tell me, hey, like you need to clean this up, clean that up, and everything will be good. So those guys help me as far as that too. So I can shout out them.
Yeah, and so basically he then says, well, he's reaching out to plural quarterback coaches back home, and as opposed to what you would expect him to do, which is to say, well, I have a great relationship with Zach Robinson. He's the offensive coordinator. He checks on me. He visits my home. I go to his home. We go over film. video is really what it is now. You should expect that kind of answer, but you don't get it. And that is a direct indictment of the Falcons organization under Terry Fontenot and Raheem Moore. And I'm sorry to say that, but the Falcons seem to not almost, be afraid to make decisions more often than not. If something wasn't working, they weren't keen to change it immediately. If it was quite obvious that they needed to make an alteration in offensive or defensive strategy, they didn't do it. And their real problems, really, as much as I know that Michael Penix in this statement did in Raheem Moore and Terry Fontenot, their real problems were with Jeff Albrecht and that defense, because it's an old saw. In order to win, you can't just run the ball well. You have to stop the run. The Falcons were not doing that on a consistent basis. And yet, this is fueled by the local media around here that wants everybody and every fan that just mindlessly ask about the offense again and again and again. You have to be able to stop people to win. There were stretches where the offense did very well, but there are longer stretches where it didn't. But the contributor to those 5 losses was the defense's inability to give its offense a chance. The defense's inability to give its offense a chance. Remember how Jonathan Martin of the Colts ran buckshot wild over the Falcons defense and posted, I believe, over 300 yards of total offense, one guy? That's unheard of, but that's what he did. And the Falcons did it by playing a 2-gap defensive front that was more concerned with rushing the passer to stopping the run. You can't even say that it's a 1-gap system that picks up stopping the run along the way, a la the defenses of the late, great Floyd Peters of the Minnesota Vikings. No, nothing like that. 2-gapping means that I'm responsible for this gap or that gap on either side of me. And in today's NFL, it is impossible to have a defense that's completely 100% effective with that kind of approach. Also, it's hard to diagnose. Why did the runner get away? Was it because the defensive tackle was in this gap when he should have been in that gap? Well, if he should have been in the other gap, why not give him a directive that puts him in one instead of this willy-nilly kind of decision-making setup, which is what that is. What the Falcons do is exemplary of stupidity in modern football. They don't seem to use the big data bowl to gain smart, analytical football data collectors and outcomes measurement personnel. They don't seem to read about the past and how football analysts are taught how to train, or the latest group of people who enter the NFL Big Data Bowl and the kind of material they put out there. I can go on and on and on. My point is, the Falcons don't seem to understand how to analyze what they do and make adjustments in game, on the fly, before the game gets out of hand. So what we have is we have games that get out of hand, and then we have games where the Falcons win, but they don't seem to really know why they won. Or with Michael Penix, they didn't train him. And so the reason why Kirk Cousins did so well was because he was self-trained. He had a lot of experience and could help the coaching staff out, which calls into question what the coaching staff really knows. And again, it shines a bad light on Zach Robinson as offensive coordinator. Raheem Morris as a defensive specialist, he is not the person to point at. Raheem is the CEO of the team, It's his job to recognize when his offensive coordinator isn't getting it done and replace him. Instead, Raheem left him there and let him make mistake after mistake after mistake, hoping one day he would get it together. And while he had some great games, even during those great games, his overall effort left a lot to be desired. As much as I'm sorry that Raheem Moore got fired, I think this was the best thing that could have happened. And there are those who are going to point out this as a racial thing. Those who do that, are just dumb. First of all, that ship sailed a long time ago. Second of all, really, it takes away from a deeper look at why the Falcons don't win and what's going on with the organization. Someone wrote that the Falcons seem to have a problem with stability. They do. Did they really need to fire him? The answer is no, they didn't. They could have had the conversation internally, and maybe they did. Something happened because every person who watched the organization play, particularly with this win streak and its improvements, would tell you, hey, by the way, give them another year. But there's a catch. They didn't have, the Falcons, a guarantee that Kirk Cousins was going to come back. And so herein creates that window that we climb through to go down that path that leads us to, hey, Zach Robinson can't coach offensive football. And because of that, Michael Penix was out to sea, literally out to sea by himself without a life raft, trying to figure out what to do. So if you're asking Kirk Cousins or allowing Kirk Cousins to find greener pastures someplace else, although he found pretty green pastures with the Falcons, I don't think he can do any better, then you're stuck with somebody who really doesn't actually know how to coach the quarterback. Now, who should the Falcons get that knows how to coach quarterbacks? The man who's currently the passing game coordinator for the Detroit Lions. That's David Shaw, formerly the great head coach at Stanford for so many years that brought the Stanford Cardinal the Pac-10 and co-Pac-10 championships and national prominence at a level never seen by Stanford. Well, only twice seen by Stanford before then. So, and there are other names I can think of, but I believe David Shaw should be at the top of the list. He's an organization man who understands what he's talking about and knows what he's doing. I've had the pleasure of interviewing him. I know David Shaw. There. Other names? Why not John Gruden? I think John Gruden would really make Michael Penix into the type of quarterback that everyone knows he can be at the NFL level. And John wouldn't really at all stand up for the kind of offensive errors that this offense made. If John has it in the tank to be the kind of John Gruden we need him to be. We're talking about a 55-year-old version of John Gruden. If he doesn't have that kind of, fire in the belly, forget it. So let's say he doesn't want to have that job. Who's next? Well, there are names like, for example, you've got to really stop and take a look, a good long look at some of the younger coaches that are coming in. Well, for example, Brian Flores. Brian Flores would also make the Falcons a great winner. Find and allow to coach Michael Penix, a great offensive coordinator mind, and rebuild the Falcons defense to be more effective, to be the kind of organization defense that got turnovers and made a difference, unlike the current one. Brian Flores would be a great hire for the Atlanta Falcons, and that may be what happens. I know there are people who are speculating about the Raiders, but I don't see Mark Davis firing Pete Carroll after 1 year. That's just something I can't see. But I can see Arthur Blank hiring Brian Flores to be the Atlanta Falcons head coach. All right, subscribe to. Let me tell me what you think. Subscribe to Zenny62 on YouTube and bookmark NFL News by Zenny62.com. Thanks.